Dunbar School, which was a Rosenwald school, and we'll tell what that was here in just a minute. But first, I'd like to introduce Miss Joyce Blair Fields, Mr. Earl Smith. And so, Joyce, we'll start with you. If you'll tell us a little bit about yourself and the history you've had here, and then we'll go further.
Well, I am a native of Tennessean, and I did attend Dunbar Grammar School, and I received training that was second to none here with the two teachers that we had for this two-room school. And the school did prepare me when I went to high school, when I went to entered the business world, when I moved from Tennessee up to Massachusetts, to gain an advantage over, I believe, those people that I went to high school with, but later on was able to enter into an area in Knoxville and Massachusetts, where I worked for Sears in Knoxville as a correspondent, and later when I transferred back up to Massachusetts, I was a supervisor in the collection department at Sears, so I've had quite a bit of experience at Sears, and it's ironic that this school represents Sears, Roebuck and Company as one of the Rosenwald schools. So there's a lot of history in that regard. So, but I was prepared in this atmosphere to have had the best two teachers, I guess, that ever taught, in Mrs. Arnwine and Mrs. Anna White. They saw that you received the training that you needed to get you where you needed to go when you grew up. And I think having the education that I experienced here prepared me to be a better student when I went to high school, to enter the business world, to become part of a management expertise in the company at Sears, where I took classes through Sears to enter into that business course in management. And after I left Sears, because they closed the central office, the credit central office where I worked, I took a little time off, and then I started to work for an attorney's office and as a legal assistant. So I still say that a lot of the training, even in formative years, prepared me for what I'm doing now.
I'm Earl Smith. I also was a student here at Dunbar Elementary School, and although Mr. Rosenwald was a benefactor for many of the schools in the area and in the state of Tennessee, as I understand it, maybe nationwide, this school was, they always said to us that it was named after a black poet, Paul Laurence Dunbar. So that's how we have that name. But I attended here as my early childhood, and I graduated from the school. We had wonderful teachers, as Joyce has already said, in Mrs. Edna J. Arnwine and Mrs. Anna Ruth White. They were extraordinary teachers, and as I said, each of them had 4 grades in their room. And humorously, I think, well, if you're in the 1st grade, you get to hear material from the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. Yeah. And you had to do that till you get to 4th grade. When you're in the 5th grade, you get to hear educational material from the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So you actually get get it drilled into your head. And so that's why perhaps we were great students.
I hadn't thought about that.
We had the benefit of that, because I can remember that I was always fascinated with math, and when I would see Mrs. White work math problems for other grades, I just got interested. I would see I can do that, and I got sort of advanced in that. Since I had an interest in math, I would learn how to do the other class work.
So both of you went to school from 1st through the 8th grade here?
Yes.
All right, now, after 8th grade, tell me where you went to school.
Well, I went to J.L. Cook High School in Athens.
Okay.
We were bused from Loudon to whether you chose to go to Sweetwater, High Point, or whether you decided to go to school in Athens.
Was it the same bus or different buses?
Same bus. They would pick us up, we would walk over to Boney Lyons service station,
Yeah.
catch the bus, and I don't know if you went to the service station or they caught you on the street somewhere. He would drop off those students that came from the North City. He would pick them up in the North City, then pick us up in Loudon. That's where I went to, is J.L. Cook High School in Athens, in school, and was an honor student there.
So y'all were ahead of the game then?
Oh, yes, very much ahead, yes.
Yeah, I might say that the students from this school, they were exceptional students when they got to these others. Joyce was mentioning how that other schools, other places were bused, like Madisonville, they were bused to Sweetwater. Etowah was bused to J.L. Cook in Athens, and also from Decatur and Niota, from around places around Athens were bused. This is to keep schools segregated, of course. But we did get to meet a variety of other folk that we wouldn't have had we not been in the integrated environment. Now I also went to J.L. Cook High.
Okay.
and many of the students who Loudon students were, they would have top honors in classes, and so that we knew that we were blessed to have been students here at Dunbar because of how we were able to. We were academic achievers.
But when we were about ready to graduate, it was during we didn't really have a lot of bad weather, but we needed to go and be in school for tests that we had to have, and they were tests that were coming up just before graduation. So Boney Lyle, bless his heart, it started to snow. So when we went to catch the bus, he said, we can't go. I can't take you to school because the weather's too bad. The roads are too bad. So those of us who, and I remember vividly that I thought, well, but it's not snowing that hard. Why can't you take us to school? We got to take those tests. And this was something that, we were activists even back then. So there was, I think Earl and Paulette and me, and maybe it was just the three of us at that.
You and Roy.
Roy, yeah,
Roy
okay.
Wilson. Roy's gone deceased, but those three were graduating seniors. Paulette Brown, Joyce Blair Fields, and Roy Wilson. So tell what you did.
Well, we were on our way. I guess we were coming back home because he wouldn't take us to school. And as we were walking back home, I said to them, "Now we have to be there to take those tests. It's not even snowing. Let's go to City Hall and let them know what the problem is. So what do you want us to do? We can't get to school to take our tests. Yeah. So what choice do we have? Do you want us to try to come to school in Loudon? Well, you should have seen." And I don't know who it was at the time. I really don't know. But somebody in City Hall said, "Get Boney Lyle on the phone, get them down there to school." I said, "Because we're going to graduate. We got to take our test, but if you can't get us there, then send us in a taxi or do something." Yeah. He called somebody called Boney Lyle and said, "You got to take those people those kids to school. It's not snowing that bad, but maybe he wanted a day off, I don't know.
How did you get to school?
I don't know, didn't you?
If the snow. Yeah, you went taxi.
I think they did send us I sent a text.
Yeah, because after Joyce, Paulette, and Roy, after we rest of us saw what they did, we said, we'll call us a taxi also,
Yeah.
we'll go to school.
And they had to pay for it. And I never will forget the principal then, Mr. Johnson. And he was really great. And he heard what we had done from Athens. He said, well, you all did a good job. He said, he was so proud of us. We were proud of ourselves because, yeah, after we made the initial stop, paved the way, everybody else said, well, we got to go to school too. So then they found money, they did something, but we got there.
It didn't snow that day.
Yeah. And Mr. Butter was not a happy camper when he came to pick us up in there.
Oh, yeah. He had to pick us up.
Yeah.
Because we all went in taxis to, somebody had to pay for it, but we went and had our test. Or maybe we didn't have it that day. Maybe they felt so bad for us having to get there the way we did. But they didn't want any kind of problems. Loudon County did it. So they made a way for us to get down to our classes, our tests.
What do you each remember about this one room? Anything stands out?
I know, I remember that we could look out the window and see people that weren't in school. There's the creek down there, you know, water. And I think, and we used to, besides the normal education that we received, I think we all like to go to the windows and look out and see what we can see outside.
Yeah.
And if there was a class, maybe it was the upper class, that maybe had recess before we did, they would maybe on the basketball court, because there's a basketball court down there too.
It used to be.
Used to.
It's run over now.
And so a lot of times we would look out the window, but of course we better not get caught, because if the teacher was teaching something else and we're around, fooling around to see, I never will forget one of my friends, Paulette, used to say, they were just about grown, but they came to school, you know, even though they didn't stay and they had their outside activities. They would come in once in a while just to learn how to read, I guess. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times if the weather was good, they would be out there fishing or in the creek. And I remember just looking, you know, I always tried to stay back and let somebody else lead, because if they're going to get caught and get, Mrs. Arnwine had a paddle, and it might have had your name on it, but she would certainly use it on your hands, and you knew that you was going to get in trouble if you were caught doing something that you want. I do remember enjoying the weather, being able to look out, and just to see the beauty of this landscape out here. But I'm not sure. I mean, I know we had to work hard. I know we had workbooks. I know we had to go to the board, do our spelling. We had to, and I guess penmanship was important then too. I guess that's how I learned to write, you know, because you could print for a while, but they did want you to excel in penmanship.
Well, there are two things that I remember, and it's not because I was a bad person, but I remember that Ms. Owen would have to discipline, and she did have this paddle, and sometimes you would have to bend over, and she would whip you on your buttocks, or she would take your hand and bend it back and pop you in your. I don't recall people crying, but I imagine that there was some crying going on. And the other incident is I remember that I had to write on this board for 500 times that I would not do what I had done. So it was, sometimes people ask me that you write so nice. I said, well, I had a lot of practice.